Hi, welcome to my channel, Made by Kate. I'm Kate. In this video, I'm continuing with sewing my winter plans. Okay, so I'll just quickly interrupt myself. I know it's the middle of summer and I'm talking about winter so much in this intro. That's because I planned this sewing project back at the beginning of the year and I mentioned it in my earlier video called my winter sewing plans. Also, I filmed this video back at the first days of April, so it was at least still spring back then. But I didn't get to finish editing the video sooner, so just bear with me and ignore all the winter talk, please. Although I'm taking that back because today's project is not as wintry as maybe some others that were on the list. And I will start with the fabrics. So the project I've chosen for this video is matching set, and it consists of a mini skirt and some kind of a top. We'll see what kind of top it will be later in the video. I still don't know how much fabric I will have left for the top after I sew the skirt. So yeah, the main fabric is this one. It is a blend of polyester and viscose. It is this Plaid fabric and the colors are green, blue and black. I mean, the colors are more wintry, but the project itself is, it's a mini skirt with matching top that will probably be a little bit cropped. So it can be worn in warmer weather or colder when I match it with some pants, with some tights and maybe a long sleeve top. So yeah, this is the main fabric, and for the lining I will be using this plain black cotton. It's 100% cotton, but it's very soft. I really like touching it. Sorry if it's TMI. For the sewing patterns for this project, I'm going to self-draft the skirt pattern. I'm not as good at pattern making yet, so I will be using my existing skirt for help. But you'll see that later on in the video. And for the top, I really want to make another one of Kiana Bonello's fitted vest, but this time I would make it different again. First time I made the classic one with hook and eye closures. The second one I modified the pattern so I could make it with buttons, and this time I would like to have the front fully sewn, but I will have a lace-up detail on both of the sides of the vest. So I hope it will go as planned, and I hope I will have enough fabric. So yeah, we can go to the video and we can start making the skirt. So I've put on my reference skirt and the Kiana Bonello's fitted vest top. Originally, I was thinking that I want to make the skirt mid-rise, but seeing them together, I think it will look better if it's high-rise like this one. But I do want to make it shorter because this is quite long for the look. I think I will make it somewhere around the ends of my fingers. So yeah, I think that will look good, and if I want to go shorter I can always cut it later. And for the fitted vest, I already made it twice as I told you, but I did not make any modifications to the pattern, well, other than the buttons, but I mean fit wise, because as you can see here, I will go closer. I will have to make these two pattern pieces more narrow, about an inch on both of the pattern pieces, and I think that will be enough. I will start with making the pattern for the skirt, and hopefully I can finish it today. It is 5 minutes to 4 in the afternoon. I took the skirt and traced around the back part first. Also, I traced only a half of the back because I will be cutting it on fold later. The skirt has darts, so I measured their length and marked their position on the paper. After that, I straightened the fold line of the pattern piece so it can actually be cut on fold. Next, I drew the dart. I measured its length from the position I marked before. The width of the dart is actually the distance of the original fold line from the straight one. And that's it for the back pattern piece. I just double check with the skirt and I can add seam allowances. 1 cm for the top and the side seam, around 3 cm at the bottom and none on the fold line. Now, I'm not sure why I added that much to the bottom. Maybe I was just scared it's gonna be too short. I don't know. I repeated more or less the same steps for the front, middle and side pattern pieces. I've made a mock-up of the skirt and here it's how it's looking. I just pinned it on this side so I can fit into it. Now there are some tweaks I want to make to the pattern. First of all, I think there's too much fabric at the bottom of the skirt, like it's too A-line. And also these seams are going like outwards. So I'm thinking if I take, I don't know, maybe 2 centimeters from the front and I will taper it up because on the waistline it fits perfect. So it will solve the problem of these seam lines, and also there will be less fabric at the bottom and it will be less A-line. So yeah, that's first thing I want to do. Second, I want to move the side seams, I think 1 centimeter to the back, because I feel like they are, I don't think you will see it on this black, but I don't know, I feel like they are in the front a little bit. And the last thing I want to change is the position of the back darts. So I think they are too much on the sides and I want them maybe 3 centimeters more to the middle of my back. So, and also I think they can be around 1.5 centimeters shorter. So yeah, I will move the dart position, I will shorten the dart, I will reduce the width of the front panel, and I will move the side seams a bit to the back. And then I don't think I will do another mock-up. I will sew the skirt. And also I didn't sew the slits on here, which I want to have on each of these seams. And I thought that with this amount of fabric that wouldn't even look good, so it will be more fitted, and here will be a little slits. So yeah, let's tweak the pattern pieces. And it's almost 5:30, and so all of this took me around 1.5 hours, and now I will go out with Plaidy, and then I will continue with the pattern. After I made all of the pattern modifications, I cut the fabric. Now I can start sewing it together. I pinned and sewed both front seams, and I also marked and sewed the darts on the back piece. As you can see, I didn't sew the front seams all the way because I am making slits there. I tied the ends of the threads on the tapered end of the darts, so the back piece is ready to be sewn to the front at one of the side seams, because the other one will have a zipper in it. I repeated all of the steps for the lining too, and as you can see, I am wearing my blanket hoodie in these clips. That is actually unimaginable in the heat we are currently living in Europe this summer. And unfortunately, all of the summers from now on. But no, global warming is still not a thing for some people. On a little happier note, the lining and the shell are ready to be sewn together at the waist, so I pinned it and tried to match all of the seams as best as I could. It's time to sew in the zipper. I pinned it to one side of the shell. The zipper is longer than I need, so I won't be sewing all the way down. After that, I repeated the same steps and sewed the zipper on the other side of the shell, this time being even more careful. If you have trouble sewing in invisible zippers, I recommend always basting it first so it doesn't move on the fabric when you sew it. I used to skip this step, but my zippers wouldn't look as good as they could, so I started doing it and it was a game changer. After I sewed the zipper, I also finished the remaining side seam. The next step is to sew the lining to the seam allowance of the zipper and finish the seam after. Also, I clip the edges of seam allowances so they are nice and crisp when I turn it right side out. Now I'll understitch the lining to the seam allowance. Understitching is when you fold the seam allowances under the lining and stitch a few centimeters from the seam. So you are stitching 3 layers of fabric. This actually prevents the lining from rolling out when you wear your garment. Finally, the last steps are to close the slits and hemline. I left a little gap when I sewed the hem, so now I'm gonna top stitch the bottom of the skirt and close the gap while doing so. It's the next day. Yesterday I was up sewing until 11:30 and I managed to sew the skirt. Here it is. Here is the invisible zipper from the outside. I think I did a good job sewing this. Also, I tried to match my pattern, at least the horizontal lines of the pattern, and it could have looked better, but I am fine with it. From the far away, it looks pretty good. I will show you how I did the pattern matching on the fitted vest that I will be sewing today. Also, somehow I managed to, I guess, widen the pattern at the waist, so it is a mid-rise skirt, which I originally wanted, but then I decided it will be high-waisted, so I in fact have a mid-rise skirt, but I'm not mad at it. And I think that's everything I wanted to say about the skirt. it fits really nice. So I'm really happy, and also I'm really proud of myself for making the skirt, because when I was tracing around the existing skirt, I realized that there are okay, so for the life of me, I can't think of the name of these freaking things. So I will put it on screen. So yeah, that when I realized that I will have to somehow incorporate them into the pattern, I was very nervous, and I was cursing myself for thinking I could make this by myself without the pattern, but I did it, and yeah, as I told you, I am really proud of myself. Hopefully you can hear Lady in the other room munching on her antler. If you do, I'm sorry. Okay, so as you can see, I've put on the fitted vest again, just so I am sure that the modification I'm going to be making on the pattern are correct. And today I realized that I don't need to modify this part, this front part, but I can modify these side patterns, these side pattern pieces. So I did that. I took ½ inch from the top, ½ inch from the bottom, and ¼ inch from the middle of the both front side and back side of the pattern pieces. And I already sewed the lining part. So here it is from the front and from the back, and the sides are unsewn because they will stay like this for forever, because my closure will be on the sides. But I told you that yesterday, hopefully. Now I need to do everything for the shell fabric, and then I can assemble them together. If you want to sew this fitted vest pattern by Kiana Bonolo, I recommend pinning very carefully on these. Are they princess seams? I think they are. On these princess seams. On this curved part, because they're really tricky to sew them right. Also, the most annoying part about this pattern is cutting the curves or clipping the curves, so yeah, but it doesn't take that long. So now I'm definitely positive that you can hear her. Sorry. Also, one thing I forgot, that I want to make the tie-up closure at the sides, therefore I needed to cut a little bit out of the sides of the pattern pieces, the side back and the side front, which I forgot, so I cut it on the sewed fabric. It wasn't that much. Okay, I will show you how I did the pattern matching, and I will cut my shell fabric finally. I want to speak too much today. Let's go. So hopefully you're going to see what I did, but I just decided on the place vertically, and then I put the pin in. I put the other pin horizontally to the other side of the pattern piece, and then I flip the back on the front, match the seam allowances, and after that I transferred the bottom pin on the back piece, and then again in my mind I drew horizontal line and put the last pin in this seam. Now, I know I sound a little bit over the place, but it worked for me. So now I will put my pattern piece down. I mean, it doesn't have to be as perfect. That's why my pattern didn't match as perfect, but whatever. Now I obviously need to transfer it to the front. So yeah, I made a mark where the pin was and I transferred it to the front of the pattern piece. Now for the side front, I will also, yeah, okay, I cut it out so it doesn't match perfectly. Okay, around here I will put my mark, and also I will put it on the front. So here is my mark on the front side, and here I transferred it to the front of the pattern piece. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the back. If I did it on the other side of the vest, I wouldn't have the problem with drawing it on the wrong side of the pattern piece, but I wasn't thinking that far ahead. Okay, so here is my fabric flat and I want to start cutting. So I will put my front center on the folded edge because I modified the pattern so it doesn't have a seam in the front. And now here is my mark. I don't believe you will see it, but I will align the mark with this black line in the middle of the green part of this pattern. So here is my mark and it goes aligned with the black line. Here is my mark and here is the line I was talking about, and I will do this with all of my pattern pieces. So when I put them down, I will match the mark with this black line in the green part of the pattern. So yeah, I'm going to cut out all of my pattern pieces and then I can start sewing. And I guess I will see you when I sewed my shell together. Okay, I lied. I'm back already because I forgot about my new book club section of these videos. And I have a new book to talk about while I'm pinning these pattern pieces. Okay, so last time I spoke to you about Shield of Sparrows and the Rights of the Starling. Is it called? Yes, the Rights of the Starling is coming out in 2 days. I'm really excited. It was the longest 2 weeks I waited, and in the meantime I was waiting. I didn't want to read any other fantasy book, but because I thought that it would get mixed up in my head, all of the worlds. So I waited, but I couldn't not read. So I decided, okay, I'm going to read some romance novel. Right now I'm reading books by Emily Henry, and I'm going in the chronological order in which she published them. So I've read the first 2, The Beach Read and The People We Meet on Vacation. And also I started reading her books because of the podcast I listened to. I think I mentioned it last week. I'll read what she's reading podcast. And yeah, also the movie came out, so I really wanted to watch it. So I did, and I loved it and decided I want to give her books a go. So yeah, that's why I started reading her books. And this third one I read a week and a half ago, I guess. And it was, oh my god, can I get to the point already? The Book Lovers is what the book called, and when I was reading the prologue, about, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 pages, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna like this book. I don't think I'm gonna like the main FMC. It was just the way she was introducing herself. I was like, I don't think I will like her. I did. I think I did by the end of the prologue that I already liked her. It was just she was misunderstood by people around her. I mean, it was also her fault, but I don't read romance books with high expectations because I don't know like how different can they be from each other, but if the main plot is just the love story. I love this one the most out of all of the 3 I've read from her. The book itself, I don't think it's like, I've rated it 5 stars out of 5, and I didn't think it was perfectly perfect, but the things I liked about the book were just so strong that I had to give it a 5 stars. I mean, I started reading it, then I put it down for a whole day after 3 pages, and the next day when I started it again, I don't know, I started reading after work, so it must have been like 6 or 7 p.m. and I stayed up the whole night. I just fell asleep around 5 a.m. So yeah, that's how I really liked the book. And the main reason was, I mean, the way the main characters, Nora and Charlie, were talking to each other. I mean, that's just hit everything I need from a romance story. It was enemies to lovers, I guess. The way they were talking to each other, the way they were teasing each other, and the banter between them, it was really, really good. I also enjoyed the, I don't know how you call it, side story between her and her sister. I was like, with the first book I read by Emily Henry, the Beach Read, I didn't really like the side plot with her father. I don't know, I was like, okay, get over it, we don't care anymore. But I mean, I don't care anymore. Some other people might have, but I mean, I don't have the best relationship with my father. I mean, I love him, but not all memories are the best. Anyway, yeah, I didn't like that side story, but this one with Nora's sister, Libby, I was really intrigued, like, okay, what is going on there? Like, you just didn't know what's going on with her until the, I don't know, last few chapters. So yeah, I really enjoyed that too. So I rated it 5 out of 5. I don't know how I want to talk about these books because I don't want to give you any spoilers. But I mean, if I were to give you any spoilers, I would put it on the screen, obviously, so I won't ruin your experience if you ever decide to read the books. So yeah, I don't know what more to tell you about that book. It was, how many pages? I read on my e-reader, Onyx, so I don't really know how long books are because obviously I can adjust the size of the text so it can have more or less pages. 377 pages on paperback. And also other thing I really liked was, yeah, they were teasing each other and making these jokes, but they were I mean, at least from the beginning, Charlie was really nice to her and really thoughtful, I guess. And he was, I mean, there for her even though they barely knew each other. So I don't know, it just hit the right spots for me. Yeah. And there was spice. There wasn't like too much of it, but it was present in the book. So yeah, I am going to finish sewing the shell and I will see you then. Let me update you on what I've managed to make with the vest. Oh, is it still considered a vest? Is it still considered a vest if it doesn't open in the front? I don't think so. So let's call it but anyway, I was sewing today since noon till 3:30 in the afternoon. Then I had to stop to cook, and also there was a football match at our stadium today, so I had to go to watch that. I have a seasonal ticket, so yeah, I went to watch that, and the first half was terrible, but the second half was much better and we won 4-1, so that was good. And now it's 8:30 and I will continue sewing. So I've managed to sew the shell together. Also, I clipped the curves and I pinned the shell and the lining together. Now I'm going to sew it together around the neckline. The only difference is that my neckline is closed because it is no longer a vest. Vest? Why do I keep calling it vest? Because it's no longer vest. And I will also sew the bottom of the front and the back, and also the both armholes. I won't sew the sides because I don't know if I would be able to turn it inside out. So I will leave them open for now and I will sew them later. And also, I forgot to do that before, but I made this hole in the lining so I can turn the top inside out when the sides are closed. Or I think I will be sewing the sides closed through this hole. I will figure that out when I get to that. I will sew what I told you that I will sew and figure the rest of it. And I guess I hope to finish this project today, and I guess I will show you the final result next. Hopefully it's a good one. One thing that I'm terrible at sewing is figuring out what seams to close so the garment can still be turned right side out. Then I get to turning and I turn and turn and turn and realize that I'm stuck in this infinite loop, and then the only help is a seam ripper. So yeah, I had to seam rip one of the shoulder seams, and the side seams could have been actually closed. This way I was finally able to leave the loop of turning. I closed the shoulder seam after that, sewing shell good size together and also the lining. And because I seam ripped it before, I had to go back and sew a bit along the strap on both sides. Everything was closed, even the opening in the lining, when I realized I didn't reinforce the fabrics at parts where I was about to put my eyelids in, so I further strengthened my relationship with my seam ripper. I had 3 different options for eyelets, so I put up a poll on my Insta story and let people choose. Which reminds me, why don't you follow me on Instagram? Anyway, naturally I didn't pick the winner. But in my defense, it was just because I realized I only had enough of the starry eyelids, so there wasn't really any decision to be made in the first place. So I'm going to end the video here, but before that I want to say some final thoughts about this matching set that I sewed. First of all, I sewed this I think 3 months ago, so yeah, I don't remember that much of the sewing process itself. But from what I do remember, modifying the Kiana Bonolo sewing pattern for fitted vest was fairly easy. I needed to modify the fit issues that I had with the vest that I sewed before, but other than that, I just modified the side, front and back panels. So yeah, that was fairly easy. Also, what was a bit challenging was figuring out how to sew the shell and the lining together, that it's seamless from the outside. So yeah, I had a little difficulties there. Also, the skirt pattern, I didn't have any. I just cloned one of my skirts, and that was much easier than I thought. I was quite scared about the darts, like how I'm going to put them to the pattern, but I think I figured that quite well. And yeah, I now have a cute skirt, which I don't wear right now, and the fitted vest. Yeah, I love my new PCs. To be honest, I don't think I'm gonna wear them together as often as I'm gonna wear them as separates, because the look of the matching set is quite edgy and quite out there, and I would also say quite sexy, and I don't always feel comfortable going out like this because, you know, men exist in the outside world, so yeah, I don't often feel good. But I wore it twice. But I wore it like that twice so far. Once was with black tights, and once, the first time I wore it, it was right when I finished it. We went to a comedy show and I wore the set with black tights and the long sleeve black turtleneck. And the second time I wore this set was on a summer vacation, I think 2.5 weeks ago, which is going to be included in one of my next videos, where I filmed this kind of a vlog where I filmed my outfits every day. Most of them were me-made outfits, and also I shared what I got up to on those days. So if you're interested in a video like that, you can subscribe to my channel and you'll be notified when I get it out. One last thing about my matching set is that the vest itself is not very practical thing to put on and off, mostly put on. One thing I didn't quite think through was I put these eyelids too close together, because if I was to do this on the front, I would put them actually this close, but on the side, I don't mind if there's more body showing, more skin showing, so I should have put them further away from each other, but I found a solution for that, so I'm going with my tie into every other eyelid. Yeah, that's that. And if you like this video, please give it a like. If you'd like to watch more of my videos, you can watch some of my older ones, or you can subscribe to my channel so you get notified when I upload the next video. Yeah, I'm looking forward for the next one, and until then, see you.